in 34 minutes, 3:55 for Lakeshore Drive. Tollway traffic's fairly light right now. No problems to report in northwest Indiana. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist Steve Williams.
Mostly sunny, pleasant, and breezy by the afternoon. High today 79. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, low 62. A sunny, warm day tomorrow, the high near 84. Morning shower or thunderstorm on Sunday, otherwise cloudy, the high 81. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560 The Answer.
Warming up a bit now, 60 at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a family tradition since 1897.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Scott the Cow Guy Shalady, Fox Business regular.
Good morning.
Morning, and Rochester Mayor, Lovely Warren is her name. She has suspended the several police officers who were involved in the death of Daniel Prude, a Chicagoan who was in Rochester, who had a mental break of some sort. He was also on drugs, PCP. Police are called because he's wandering the street naked, which is a good indication of a mental break.
Mm-hmm.
And he does comply with officers when they roll up on him, say, get down, put your hands behind your back. He does. But he's also acting erratically, spitting, and this is back in March. And so officers put a spit hood on him because they were worried about COVID, or just in general, people don't like to be spit on.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So this is how that went. Just we played it yesterday, but just to reset, here's the audio from the body cam video.
On the ground. Get on the ground, man.
Look.
Get on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back.
Yes,
don't
sir.
move.
Yes.
Don't move.
Yes,
Chill
sir.
out, man. Don't move, all right, man?
Yes,
Just don't
sir.
move.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you Daniel?
Yes, sir.
Daniel Prude?
Please let me get my money.
Daniel Prude?
And jump on the flight. Please. For Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, I pray.
I thought
On my mama blood, they flipping over in the grave. I mean that. God bless y'all, man.
Stay on the
Let
ground.
me up. Get the away from me. In Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. School Christ.
Are you on fire?
Give me that gun. Give me that
No,
gun,
you're
not
gonna
me.
stay down. You're gonna
All
stay
right,
down.
all
Stay
right,
down.
take this off my face.
No, I got him. I'm already in it.
Drag me, kill me. And Jesus good love me. My mama flew over like crazy, man. So good. I mean it. Get that feet off my face, man. I'm too close. I got stupid.
Stop.
This is where he's
Calm down.
spitting. He's got a hood on, and the officers are trying to hold him down.
You hear me? Stop spitting. Stop spitting.
Give him the book.
Well, at least we know who broke the window.
Okay.
I bet you that dude on PCT.
Give me the book.
Just straight water. You see all that water came out of his mouth?
No, I didn't see it, but I see it now.
This is all water. My man, you puking? Oh, look at this.
I saw the ambulance coming, so I moved it.
And so they don't initially believe he's having a medical emergency, but he was. The coroner ruled the death a homicide, factors complications of asphyxia, and the physical restraint being a contributing factor in his death. It's difficult to tell from the video how much force was being used. There's a hand on his head, but you can't really tell if it's pressing down. There's a knee in the back, but you can't really tell what kind of force he's using because he wasn't squirming around that much, so it didn't seem like there was much force that was needed.
And it was 2 days later he died? Or 1 day later?
Right. He's 41 years old. There's something interesting about this, too. USA Today reported that Rochester police documents released by Prude's family show that his brother had told police officers Prude ran out of the house that night after he'd been hospitalized earlier in the day for suicidal ideation. Warren criticized the hospital, the mayor, Warren, criticized the hospital for releasing him after a few hours. She told reporters that he was failed by our police department, our mental health care system, our society, and he was failed by me. She said that also that if he were white, he would have been treated differently. Racism is alive and well in every system in America, says the Rochester mayor. By the way, it is worth noting the Rochester police chief, LaRon Singletary, is a black gentleman. I guess he's part of the racist institution of police, too. She also said, the mayor, I only learned of those officers' actions on August 4th when there was a video, where there's a review of the body cam video per a Freedom of Information request by the Prude family, which has now filed a wrongful death suit in the case. At no time before August 4th did Singletary or anyone make me aware of the officers' actions in regard to Prude's death. Well, August 4th was a month ago. Mm-hmm. She suspended the 7 officers involved in the detaining Daniel Prude yesterday. What took so long? Oh, because it became public.
Yeah, pressure. Sure.
Here's how his brother, Daniel Prude's brother, Joe, characterized what happened.
The man is defenseless, butt naked on the ground. He's cuffed up already. I mean, come on. How many more brothers got to die for society to understand that this needs to stop?
There's an interesting experiment that was done. This was over at PJ Media, pulled it forward. A few years ago, this is probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and there's video there. The video doesn't really translate to audio, so I'll tweet it out. You should watch it. 2 Antifa members go to a county sheriff's training facility in Portland, and they do the shoot, no shoot training.
Yep.
And you watch these 2 guys go through the shoot, no shoot training and how many times that they used lethal force or got killed themselves in these various scenarios that they role play out. Both of the Antifa protesters came out of the shoot, no shoot training at that county sheriff's department saying, boy, that job's a lot harder than I thought it was.
No kidding.
And so this is one of those situations, too. Think about this. Mayor Warren of Rochester may be onto something when she says at least that the mental health system failed Daniel Prude. He's having suicidal thoughts. He's hospitalized, and then he's released where clearly he wasn't ready to be able to take care of himself. He's naked on the street, for goodness sakes, and his brother calls police. So here again is the conversation about that now police have to become mental health professionals as well as law enforcers. I don't know. I don't know what you thought about this case. It looks like a tough call to me, but I don't see anything so obviously excessive in the police's response to Mr. Prude.
Well, I haven't seen the video really, but I had just listened to it for the first time here, and it doesn't sound like they were abusing him. I mean, it doesn't sound. I mean, maybe they were a little bit too flippant. Maybe I suppose I don't know. They see a lot of stuff in a day, so they probably are desensitized to stuff automatically. But I don't know. And to pass away 2 days later, or a day or two later, this has got a lot of. There's a lot of questions. I mean, nobody likes to see a guy that's he's clearly was let down by the mental health. But I mean, this is a mental health issue until he grabs your gun. You know, and then all of a sudden it turns into a different deal.
And this has to be a black and white thing.
Always, yeah.
I mean, it has to be. Francisco Santiago is one of the officers. As I said, the police chief is black. I mean, it runs the spectrum of race identity. Really.
Okay, well, forget about that. What did they do that they shouldn't have done, or what didn't they do that they should have done?
Well, right. I mean, exactly. You're right. What police protocol in a situation like that is to do what, and what that you see from that video or that other evidence suggested they do or not do incorrectly.
That's what I need to know. Yeah.
For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by Mark Curran. He's a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate running against Dick Durbin and Willie Wilson in the November election. He's also a former sheriff of Lake County. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
As somebody who's been a prosecutor, been a criminal defense attorney, been a county sheriff, so been the head of a department, how do you react to how this case is being handled in Rochester and what those officers did?
Yeah. So it's really skeletal what we know, I suppose, but yeah, it doesn't sound like a homicide to me. Certainly not a criminal homicide. Beyond that, Dan, I really they encounter all kinds of tough calls, as you said, with the simulated shoots that people think the job is way easier than it is. And
what was your experience in Lake County? I mean, Lake County is a big county. You've got a big sheriff's office, in addition to working with municipal police departments up there, as runs the gamut, like in most urban centers, of both officers as well as residents and activity, lawful and unlawful. And so your experience managing all of that in the modern context where everything, particularly with policing, has to be forced through a racial prism.
Right. Yeah, I think it's all a lie. So when President Obama was in the Illinois Senate, it was a big deal that they passed that racial profiling bill. And if anything, as a result of that, you have to disclose the race of every encounter that you have and what have you, and those numbers are later looked at. So the reality is that oftentimes police officers are trigger shy with dealing with blacks to begin with, because they don't want skewed numbers, what have you. And in today's world, everybody's got a cell phone and what have you. And oftentimes, a black guy that's going to be a troublemaker, they're going to have the video out going right away. I said this before, that really, if there's any group that potentially faces any racism from law enforcement, it would be Latinos, just because they don't know how to assert their rights on the same level, and maybe they come from a country where federale is rogue, and they're afraid and what have you, and they're much less likely to be trouble. So it's kind of like, Latino is the new black, I guess.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. I'm not.
No, I know what you mean. I understand it, but the Jacob Blake case, and I hate to obsess about these cases, but they're sort of microcosms of all these issues that are run into conflict with one another, and so there again, the way that it's been handled in Kenosha by the police department there, anything that you see that you would be doing differently, whether as a law enforcement officer or as the elected official, the mayor?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they should be defending the police. I mean, that's the thin blue line, as we talk about. And the reality is that less and less people are inclined to get into law enforcement. We saw our numbers drop drastically in terms of applications. This new generation is less likely to want to work afternoons, midnights, weekends, holidays, put up with all the grief that police officers have to put up with. And, if shoots like that is the best that they have to show that there's racism, I mean, it's absurd. I could go through the details as to, why that potentially that was a very defensible shoot. So, it's just, it's absolutely absurd. And people are afraid to speak truth. It's one of your gifts is you have no problem offending people. But, today's political prism, everybody is afraid to offend their base, left or to speak truth, and they don't do it.
Well, that was the subject of this piece that you wrote for National Review about codes of silence. Of course, code of silence, and you think police immediately, but you talk about codes of silence elsewhere, and another code of silence that's gotten a lot of discussion. Code of silence has gotten a lot of discussion, sort of a funny way to say it, but it's true, was with respect to residents in neighborhoods that are afflicted by violent crime being more willing to come forward and work with police. But then the third code of silence that we're seeing play out, and you're sort of describing, is in our political arena, where you have mayors and governors and and civic and business leaders who are afraid to make any sort of comment on, well, I don't know, their town being destroyed, for example.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think that's why there's an undercurrent in terms of what's going on politically. Which of these people, like, Durbin, I'm running against, he endorsed Kim Fox. None of them have any problem with Kim Fox, that she does as far as not asking for bond on people that have committed serious criminal offenses, and you go down the list of just how pathetic it is. Nobody's really calling out Madigan until recently. Durbin endorsed him not that long ago. So it's one of those that people are craving someone that's going to speak truth and just let the chips fall. Don't give us BS and don't circle the wagons and what have you. So I think the left, in terms of the political leaders, are clearly convinced that Black Lives Matter has a lot of steam, and they don't want to come out against it, and they don't want to call them for what they are.
Well, what's the truth about Illinois? I mean, what's the sort of cutting through and putting it between people's eyes that you're doing as a candidate for U.S. Senate?
Well,
Mark? Did we lose Mark?
Dan?
Oh, yeah. You cut out there for a second.
All right, I'm sorry. So Democrats are very, organized as far as, just circling and protecting their own and standing in unison is almost like a military-like entity. And, the Republicans, we have a much harder time. I think more of us are likely to speak truth.
Well, okay, but I mean, what's the message to the electorate? What's hey, look, here's what time it is, and you got to make a choice. What's that message?
So that message is that, one party's in charge and that, they've essentially destroyed the state, and that, ultimately we've seen this scenario repeat. I mean, all through history, that we're, when the left takes over, that this burning and looting doesn't end. It continues until they overthrow the government. So, I mean, are we going to keep going in this direction, or are we going to have law and order where, businesses are going to feel safe to open and people are going to want to invest in the property that's in those locations or not?
And so, I mean, ultimately, your candidacy is predicated on law and order question. You think that's the question that will turn the election on November 3rd?
I think law and order ties into economics as well. If you don't have a safe community, you're not going to invest in that community. So it's really critical. And I think that people are looking at that and they're saying, why would I want to be in Portland, Chicago, or Minneapolis when my business can be destroyed when this stuff is going on and what have you? It's just not a good investment.
He is Mark Curran. He's a former Lake County Sheriff, and he is now Republican candidate for U.S. Senate in Illinois, running against Durbin and Willie Wilson. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And you join us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I just had a baby, and I'm tired, but I could tell you this, without Balance of Nature, there's no way I would have the energy I have right now. I've done so many different multivitamins and different things, and I have to definitely say Balance of Nature is the thing that's really, really helping me right now. I've been listening to these commercials and these testimonials, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But this is a product that I actually could say, holy cow, I see results.
Get a wide variety of all your daily recommended servings of whole fruits and vegetables without having to leave your home. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or by going to balanceofnature.com. Again, that's balanceofnature.com. And make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
There's still a lot of uncertainty about K through 12 education, isn't there? What your kid's school is going to do and how long they're going to do it. Maybe your child had a bad experience with e-learning earlier this year, or maybe you know that being in the classroom is the best environment for learning. Well, we've got some good news. There are many private schools around Chicagoland not facing the same challenges as government schools. These private schools have the ability to hold classes in person in the classroom while following all the appropriate state guidelines for safety. And now you have a way to enroll your child at half the price of regular tuition. It's called halfpriceschools.com. It's simple. Find a private school near you, purchase the tuition voucher, prepare to send your child off to school into the classroom this fall. Halfpriceschools.com is schools who are committed to in-person learning this fall, like real education, including Trinity Lutheran in Lombard, St. John's Lutheran in Chicago, Families of Faith Christian Academy in Shanahan, Christian Liberty in Arlington Heights, Calvin Christian in South Holland, St. Andrew's Lutheran in Park Ridge, Emmanuel Lutheran in Palatine, Kankakee Trinity in Kankakee. Don't delay. School's already started and maybe stopped and will start again. It's going to be changing, but there is still time to level up to the best available option for your kids. Visit halfpriceschools.com today. Many of these vouchers have already sold out, so don't wait. Visit halfpriceschools.com today. That's halfpriceschools.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Here's the president of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, Todd Meisch, talking about the proposed income tax hike amendment on the November state ballot.
Springfield politicians already raised income taxes twice in the last decade. This tax hike amendment would let them increase taxes by billions more whenever they want, and a blank check to spend the money however they want, with no limits and no accountability. It would trigger a huge tax increase on thousands of small business owners and give Illinois the nation's second highest tax rate on large employers. The result would be more closed businesses, more lost jobs, and even more people leaving Illinois. The tax hike amendment is a bad idea at the worst possible time. Please stand with Illinois employers and vote no.
Learn more by visiting notaxhikeamendment.com. Paid for by the Coalition to Stop the Proposed Tax Hike Amendment.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Dan Horn, co-owner of Horn McGowan Insurance Agency, a third-generation family-owned business founded in 1959 and a new customer of Signature Bank. When our previous bank couldn't secure a PPP loan for our business, we were referred to Signature. Right from the start, we were well taken care of. Our account was handled by one of the founders of the bank who offered real help in our time of need. Signature Bank is a better fit for our business because, like Horn McGowan Insurance Agency, they are local and they get things done. Signature's technology made our banking transition seamless, but it's their outstanding personal service that